and a superficial analysis of the situation without going into the guts of the issue. And that is what is it all about in Russia and in China. See? Because if we hide our face and say, well, we can't change the situation over there, but we can carry on the struggle over here. But that isn't true. That isn't true. The U.S. and China are in a constant struggle. First and foremost, because China is still, although we tend to forget it, in the light of its recent initiatives and development, it's still worker state. It is still a progressive social system compared to imperialism. And while it has deviated in its politics dramatically over the years and is moving faster and faster in the direction of capitalism, we should not take the position that it's all over in China and that we have only ourselves to look to. A similar situation arose during before the Second World War, at a time when the Soviet Union, under the leadership then of Stalin, in an effort to avoid an imperialist attack from the allies of France, Britain, and the U.S., pulled a diplomatic turnaround and made a pact with Nazi Germany. That stunned the movement, since the Nazis were regarded as the main and fundamental enemy at that time, which it might have been politically and worldwide. But from a class point of view, Hitler's regime was a capitalist regime, no less capitalist than France, Britain, and England. That the real fight between them, France, Britain, England, and Germany, was a fight over the colonies. A fight of who's to get who, now that Germany had freed itself from the Versailles Treaty and said it won't be treated anymore as a colony, and that it is necessary for it to take back what it had before, and that Germany was to be reconstituted as it was during at least the First World War. And it's on that basis that the Second World War took place. It had nothing to do with democracy or freedom or whatever. It had to do between the rivalry of the two biggest imperialist blocs at the time. The question still remains, why did it advance in Europe so quickly? Why did Europe, and in particular Germany, get ahead, see? Why, see? First of all, Germany got ahead, see, because of the waterway transport, see. It was able in Europe to advance more quickly because it had access to the seas. That's one thing. The other thing is that technologically they got ahead earlier than others. Okay. Now if you listen to them, the Germans, they got ahead because they're smarter and more cultured and all that. And that's the basic reason. And the one who plays it up most, or did it most, was Hitler. We are above everybody else. We're ahead in everything because we are Or as the Jews would say, we are the chosen people. That's what the Bible teaches them. We are the chosen people. No, we. Not some other African group, but we are. And you know, that already creates a basis for hatred on that score. Okay. Now, why did the Russians make the revolution first, see? So, all right. Now, so up to a certain point, they were considered the most backward ones and looked down upon, and then all of a sudden they made the revolution first. We don't have to know all the conditions, but we know that it's conditions that did it, and most of all, economic conditions. See, today, the U.S. is involved in competition with Germany and trying to restrict its development. Now, that's a fact. The U.S. is, at the present time, trying to restrict Germany in Europe and elsewhere. It is also trying to restrict, of course, Japan. But in my opinion, and it's only my opinion, they're not pushing as hard as they really are on Germany, because when Germany, it gets the edge, it also has the ability to promote itself as the leader not only in the particular technology, but in technology overall and in culture overall. And we don't want to say no to that. But what we want to do is to internationalize. Look, we're all part of an international tendency of capitalist development which brings about the proletariat, which is the most international class of all, and lays the basis for solidarity. So that even when it becomes the competition between two socialist parties, let it be cooperation. And at the same time to watch out for all elements of chauvinism or racism, and that we be the first to recognize these things and to be able to correct it. You can't discuss international politics without being aware that there are chauvinist conceptions all around that we have to overcome. Nationalism of the oppressed and the struggle against the oppressors, but that's about it. See? We're for proletarian internationalism, for communist internationalism. That's what's important. And we are not the hasty vanguard elements to defend, well, you get capitalism started in Europe, and therefore the socialist movement started in Europe, and therefore we're first. That's the thing you want to completely avoid. That hopes to bring about the socialist revolution. Much more is required. It requires a strong, disciplined party where the members are accountable for their activities, where they don't participate in the activities and are not accountable, and not even the leaders are accountable, such as a weak, loose organization not worthy of a party that hopes to overthrow the most monstrous despotism in European history, to overthrow the Russian government. The working class is a disciplined class. It's not the petty bourgeoisie that has a great many different and conflicting interests, many of them laudable. But the proletariat, by virtue of the fact that it is in large-scale production, or even small-scale production, the proletariat is disciplined by the machine. They come into work, they punch a clock. That's not what free intellectuals do. Again and again, Lenin hammered away at the need for a proletarian party. It is the proletariat that is the decisive class in the struggle for the control of the means of production. You need a strong, disciplined organization to deal not only with the intellectuals, but with the millions and millions of peasants, with the middle class, and beyond that, with the bourgeoisie. For a party that has such a lofty position on organization, it goes without saying that it would not only be rigid in organization, but also in its program, though in its political program, though it would be flexible in the highest degree on tactics and on strategy.